What's up, guys? It's Travis Sherman here, and can you believe it? Today is officially the last assignment of the school year. I know, it's sad. What are you gonna do without my incredible tutorials, my incredible voice, and most importantly, my incredible hair? Who knows? Stop right there. Actually, you know what is the most exciting thing about today? Today I finally got a glimmer of hope. You know, the barbershop's opened back up and I haven't had a haircut in like, I don't know, 6 months or whatever. And so I got up early, like 6 a.m. I put on my nicest clothes. I was getting ready for the day. I was excited. There's a 3-hour wait at every single barbershop, barber parlor, barber salon, I don't know. There's a 3-hour wait. So here I am on a 3-hour waiting list. Anyway, I'm still going to be doing tutorials for a while longer. I think it's just way too valuable to stop the learning. So we are moving forward with where we left off, which was keyframing. But this time with Adobe After Effects as we begin to design lower thirds. Adobe After Effects? Yes, I know. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Speaking of which, let's just stop right there. In case you haven't noticed, I have secretly been putting famous movie lines in the very beginning of each tutorial and the very end of each tutorial. Did you find them all? I hope so. If not, go back and watch. But for right now, don't press a button because you know what time it is. It's time for the joke of the day. A drum roll, please. Did you hear about the superhero with a lisp that always worked out? Yeah, he's Thor. I mean, jokes. You just can't get enough of them, right? I mean, everybody, all right. I'm really taking hold of the dad joke industry and becoming the go-to person. As I said before, make sure you look out for my next Netflix special coming soon. In the meantime, do you want to review some of the tutorials? Well, lucky for you, you can. Just head on over to the Springdale Public Schools YouTube channel, and you should be looking for the AMI Video Productions playlist, and there is loads of content on there ranging from editing to composition, even to our real cinema experience. Let's see what this one is. Ooh, Editing 101 Part 2. So there you go. Right? Lots of great stuff, so be sure to stop by if you ever need to review. But for now, we are continuing with keyframing, building off of what we actually, building off of what we are actually heading over to a completely new program, and that is Adobe After Effects. So let's close out of this. We're doing After Effects today, guys. So we're gonna head down to the bottom, and we're gonna click on the AE for After Effects, and it is going to load up. Now, here is a little disclaimer. After Effects is a monster of a program. There is so much you can do with it, and I am by no means a professional with After Effects. So we're going to do the best we can to navigate through this. You're going to get this screen right here, just like Premiere Pro, and you're going to click on New Project. I'm going to go ahead and expand this for you guys. There we go. And so, similar to Premiere Pro, you've got the project window right here. Instead of a source and program, you have one window in the middle, which is your composition. Right here is, if you've ever messed with Photoshop, this is where your layers are going to be, and then your timeline. I know that's a little bit confusing. Over here is like your effects and stuff like that. So, but we're going to go over it. I'm going to keep it real simplistic for the first time through, so let's just go with it. So you can import just like you do with Premiere Pro. So we're going to hit Command-I, and it's going to pop up our importing stuff, and we are going to import. I've already created a folder for us on the desktop with everything we're going to need to do today, so I'm just going to import that entire folder. Okay. Next, we are going to create a new composition, so I'm just going to click there, and we're going to name this Lower Third. Okay, the big thing to remember is that you want this to be 1920 by 1080. That is so crucial. If you don't get this right, you're going to mess everything up. So I'm going to click OK. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, you can take, let's see, like this. It's just a screenshot, and you can drag it in, and it should automatically conform to those settings. But if you don't know what that was shot in, it may be a problem. So that's why I have done everything for you. 1920 by 1080, just hit that new comp button and it will do it. So what we're going to do next is we are going to start dragging in our stuff just like Photoshop. So I've got a lower third first, and what I've done is I have designed elements in Photoshop. You could design everything you need in Photoshop, put it in Premiere Pro, there's your lower third. The problem is it never really animates, and I want my lower thirds to animate, and I'll show you what I mean. So that's what we're doing today. So I'm just going to take this lower third first over here, and I'm going to drag it down here and drop it. And there it is. Okay, so there's my first one. Pretty easy. It's in a full 1920 by 1080 scale. Let's take our second one and drop it down. There's our second one. Let's take our third one and drop it down. There's our third, okay? And last but not least, we have a HBHS logo here, and we're gonna drop that in as well. All right, so we've got 4 different elements right now that we are going to mess with. Okay, so this works off of what's called a layer system. So if I were to drag, as you can see, the wildcat, the bottom of the wildcat is actually cut off because these 3 layers are actually on top of the wildcat. So if I just drag this on top of all those, it will now be on top. So think of it as paper, right? You can't see what's on the bottom unless you tear pieces away. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so we've got the wildcat now on top. And what I'm gonna do, our first shortcut key that we're going to learn is S. So if I select any layer, like this first one, and I hit S, it's going to pull up the properties for scale. It's automatically linked together, so I'm just gonna scale this down. You can scale it however you want, right? So I'm gonna scale it down. The next shortcut key we're gonna learn is P. If you hit P, it pulls up the position. So now what I can do is I can come over here and kind of maneuver this around. I want the wildcat to be right around here. Way too big still, so let's go back and select it, S for scale, and let's scale it down even more. Maybe something like that. P for position. Let's move it over and up. I kind of like, everybody see this, I call it a tail. This tail right here. I kind of like how that's just hanging on top of the lower third itself, maybe just a little over. And I kind of like that. I mean, it's integrated, it looks great. So there we go. So this is our basic lower third without any type of text. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add our text to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit the T. You can also hit Command T is the shortcut, T, and I'm just going to click right here and I'm going to begin typing, and you'll notice that it is almost, you can't read it at all. That's because of the color, right? So all you have to do is come over here to your effects, click on this box, and we're going to change it to black and click OK. Now if I type it, that's not my name. There we go. You can clearly see it. However, again, very, very small. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit S. Let's scale it up. That looks pretty good. Let's go over and hit P for position. And let's move it, I don't know, right around there. Ta-da. Looks good to me. Next, let's add another text layer. So we're going to click T again and come down here. And this time, let's change the color to white. So we change it to white, and now we're going to put the, how about just greatest tutorial maker ... ever. I like that. Okay, and we're going to put that there. Scale, let's scale it up. Position, let's move the position, kind of offset it a little maybe right there. And that looks good. Okay, so now we have our lower third. The last text we're going to add one more. It's important for everybody to know who you're reporting for, so let's go ahead and change the color back to black. And HBHS, not BHS. HBHS, there we go. Scale it up. Position. Kind of center it in the middle right there. Let's see. That works for us. All right, so there we go. We have our lower third. That looks pretty good. Now the next thing we want to do is I want the text to kind of come on like a typewriter. So what we can do is we can come over here to, let's see if I can find it. There it is, Effects and Presets. And we're just going to type in typewriter, and there it is. So what we can do is we can drag this on to the actual layer we want the effect, just like Premiere Pro. I didn't actually want to drag it onto HBHS, but I do want to drag it onto greatest ever, and I want it to be on the name as well. So now, if I come to my timeline and I kind of scroll through, it kind of appears on like that, which is kind of neat. A little added bonus, right? Okay, so we've got the very basic setup done. We are ready to start animating it. So how do we animate it? Well, if you come over here, we've talked about keyframes. So if I hit the stopwatch, it's automatically going to set a keyframe. So let's go to the ending. How long do we want the animation to take to get onto screen? So let's just play it and kind of get a feel on. Maybe it takes, I don't know, that long, 2 seconds. Looks like it's just a little over 2 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead on all of these. Well, not all of them. Let's see. I'm going to animate this. So I'm going to hit position. I'm going to turn on the stopwatch. I'm going to go to the other one and turn on the, hit P, and turn on the stopwatch, P, turn on the stopwatch, P, turn on the stopwatch. Okay, that looks good to me. I'm actually going to turn off the stopwatch on the Wildcat. So here's what I want to do, a little trick. Let's talk about parenting. Parenting means one layer is attached to another. So if you manipulate one layer, the other layer automatically goes with it. So let me show you. Right now, if I go to, let's say, lower third 3, and I move it, right? Nothing is attached to it. It just moves by itself. Everybody sees that, so let's hit Command Z. This time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to parent the Wildcat to it. So if I come up here to the Wildcat, which is this layer, and this little circle right here, I'm going to click and drag it to part 3. Now, if I move the position, it's attached. It's going to stay with it no matter what I do with it. It's parented. So that's very handy. We are also going to do that with the text layer HBHS. So I'm going to grab the circle and part 3. Now, if I drag it on, oh, I'm sorry. Now I was like, what's happening? Now if I drag it, you can see that it is attached and it's not going anywhere. Pretty neat. Okay, so let's undo that. Now it's time to start animating. So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to worry about my text layers other than HBHS. I'm just going to turn those off right now. So here's your eyes. You can turn them off and on. So what I want to happen is I want the part 2, which I believe is this one. Part 2 is the bottom, yes. I want it to start off screen, so I'm just going to slide it to the right. Okay. There we go. And at the end, so let's advance to the next keyframe, which you just click this arrow right here on the bottom. If you click this next arrow, it advances to the next keyframe, and there you go. So now, what it's got doing is it's sliding in. Okay? Next, I'm going to come over here to part 3, and I'm going to do the same thing, except it's going to go left. So we're going to move it off screen to the left. Left, there we go. So now it should, there we go. And we're going to do the exact same thing to part 1, slide it off to the left as well. There we go. Now when we slide it in, looks pretty good, right? And you can also do some other type of animation if you wanted to. But now let's take a look at our text layers. So let's add those back on. So what happens? Well, they're actually coming in too early. Everybody can see that. So we don't want those layers to come in too early. So what can we do? Well, the easiest solution Let's go to our last keyframe, which is right here. We can just go to the next arrow, right there. Now we're going to take this layer and we're just going to slide it down slightly before it gets to the last keyframe. And we'll do the same thing with the name. We're going to drag it down slightly before, maybe here. And let's take a look. So you can move those layers around and have something kind of happen for you. Yeah, so let's play it. Okay, so that was pretty slow for me. That's an exaggeration. That is really slow for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these keyframes and we're just going to shift it over to about 1.5 seconds. Now let's take a look. Still slow for me. Let's do more. Let's go to like a second, maybe even less than a second. Let's go even further, because I really want it to come in quick. Yeah, something like that. Now we need to obviously move these layers backwards. So we're going to move them right around here. And let's see what we got. Okay, you can go into your effects. So if I drop the drop down arrow and we go to text, animator, right, there is the option for you to mess around and really get this typewriter effect if you want it to be more, right? You can see the keyframes right here. These diamonds are the keyframes. So this is where it officially ends. Maybe you want it to be faster, so maybe you want it to be like this. So we'll just drag this keyframe. Oh, it's not going to let me. Sorry. There we go. Drag this keyframe over, and it'll be a lot quicker. Okay, and we'll do the same thing to our other text with this. You can actually see where the keyframes are located if you drop the drop-down arrow. So we'll drop it, text, we'll drop it on animator, and then we need to drop it on range selector, and there's your keyframe. So we want it to come in about the same time, maybe a little quicker. So we'll just slide this keyframe over. There you go. All right, so you have the first lower third done. So now what do? Well, for After Effects, it's a little bit different. You don't actually export. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to composition at the top, and we are going to add to render queue. Okay, so it pulls up this screen, which is basically your export box. So you're going to click on lossless. This is probably the most important thing out of all of everything we do. Otherwise, it's not going to work. On your channels, you have to select RGB plus alpha. It needs that alpha channel. Otherwise, it's just going to be a black screen behind it. So we're going to select RGB plus alpha. Click OK. And we are going to save it to the desktop in our After Effects folder. And we'll just call this Sherman. Save, and then you click render at the bottom. It shouldn't take any time at all, depending on how long your composition is. Typically, I make the lower thirds like 10 seconds. It looks like this one is longer than that. So we've got 13, 14, 15. I bet you it's a 30-second lower third. It is, right here, it says. So normally if you make your composition about 10 seconds, it takes literally 3 seconds to render this. All right, it's done. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go check it, right? So the first thing we're going to do is open up Premiere Pro. And let's do the music. Oh, wait. Who knows how long this will take? Almost there. I do like the song, though. I will say the song is pretty. And kill the music. All right, so we're going to create a new project. We'll call it lower third. We'll browse and save it into our AE folder on the desktop. There we go. And that works for me. And we'll click OK. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit Command-I. And we're going to, on the desktop, I've already got like a still image. You could use, obviously you'd be using video. And we'll just drag this still image down to the timeline. There we go. That looks like me. And let's go ahead now and import our lower third, which is right here. You won't be able to preview it unless it is actually in Premiere. So we're going to double click on it. It's a black screen, but remember, we animated it. So there it is. Now all you should have to do, if we did everything correctly, is drag it down, and you should have, there you go. That image is obviously way too big, but that's the idea. I'll fix it for us. There we go. That looks better. So now we have an image. Ta-da! Vote for me for president, right? And there you have it. It's as easy as that to create the lower thirds. Now, if you want to learn more about After Effects, I already told you this. It's an incredible program. There's so much you can do with it, but frankly, I'm just not the person to teach you. I know enough to barely get by. But I will tell you, Andrew Kramer is the person you need to look up. You need to head on over to his website. It's called videocopilot.net. Look at this. Let's go to the tutorials. These are all free tutorials. Now, some of them require like plugins and stuff, but you can preview them. That's what one of the tutorials teaches you how to do, some advanced electric effect. We've got different types of graphics. We got this solar atmosphere, right? These are all from scratch. He teaches you how to do this. It is incredible. And I mean, it helps you how to get into the, like how to be accustomed to After Effects. And this is actually how I learned to navigate it. So I highly, highly, highly recommend him. So with that being said, that's going to do it here. That is our last official, and I'm putting official in quotations. I don't know why I'm doing that. You can't see me, but hey, it's our last official tutorial of the year. Yo, Adrian, we did it! But don't worry, I'm still going to continue for a few more weeks. Up next, we have our award ceremony, which is called A Night at the Movies. I really hope you all tune in at 7 p.m. as we recognize the achievements and projects completed this year. Plus, it's all leading up to the Legacy Award in Scholarship. Until then, I'm Travis Sherman, and we'll see you next time.